Thank you for listening to Give us the donut, the rosin, and when needed, even the pine tar.
Hey,
The International Diamond Center is proud to present On Deck with Jeff Cardozo and Steve Russell. For the next 60 minutes, we are peering into the box from 60 feet 6 inches.
Are you going to be impressed with a 500-foot home run?
Yeah. Power alley to power alley. We have you covered. Now, let's head out to the bump and join our Gators baseball radio broadcast battery. Here are Jeff and Steve.
Well, we started this season back in February, and now it's our final on-deck show of the year. Welcome in as we talk baseball and softball with you. Jeff Cardozo, Steve Russell, Zach Rothrock, our producer today. We thank you for tuning in. Jeff, it is a long year. I mean, you go back and everybody's excited in February, and here we are in June. And I know, the Gators and their fans wish it could be a longer year. But look, considering everything, and we'll get into this later, I guess, but I hope people understand the amount of injuries and the amount of adversity this team had to overcome just to get where it got to.
Yeah, I think that's where you give the staff credit. And I know they don't want to make any excuses, but we can do it for them because
Yeah.
You saw it. And there were so many things that they had to overcome, and they kept overcoming them. And it was crazy to see that they just all of a sudden kept winning, and then Shelton goes out, they keep winning, and all these things were happening. But to me, the final straw was when Heyman got hurt. And I think you could – not only offensively, but defensively, he had caught every SEC inning, and you saw some of the deficiencies with some of the other dudes they had to put out there on the field. So, yeah, when it was all said and done, certainly they're not happy. But listen, Florida wasn't going to win the World Series this year with what they had, but you hope they would have played a little bit better. But I just think it all caught up with them, and you ran into, and we're seeing it now all across America. Teams with different styles, different things are going on, or beating these high-powered teams that have brought in a bunch of dudes from NIL. So it's going to be interesting now what the next couple of years does, but this staff will really get after it. The portal opened yesterday, so they're already on guys and meeting with guys and flying to see guys. So it'll get corrected, but it is weird because in 18 years now, Florida's been 9 times to the College World Series under Sully. So half of the time that he's been here, we've been able to make it to the College World Series. So to not have those extra couple of weeks and guess like a month earlier vacation is going to be weird.
It is going to be weird. And I think what the regionals showed, Schlossnagel, I guess, becomes a savant of sorts because remember he said it may be more difficult to win the SEC than win the national championship, and they couldn't get out of a regional. So just because you're from the SEC and you get to a regional, and how many times do we see, Jeff, guys like, Wright State beating Vanderbilt, that either they have a pretty good pitcher that nobody knows about, or you run into a guy that's sort of a thumber that you don't normally see, and he gives you trouble in a short series like this. We've seen that happen.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest part. I mean, you saw just a couple of years ago, guy do that for the Gators. Remember, he just came in and basically threw a complete game after not starting the game and got the Gators through that Oklahoma victory. So I think that's all part of it. In the SEC now, it's all these power arms and guys throwing 95 to 98. I think the one thing that maybe surprised me more than anything was Ole Miss and the amount of runs that they gave up.
Yes.
In their place. I mean, they ran through the SEC tournament, giving up 5 runs in 4 games. They make the championship game, and then all of a sudden – they're giving up 19 hits to a team that nobody's ever heard of. Yeah. So it is crazy this time of year. I know guys run out of pitching and things are depleted, but there is always that guy or a few individuals out there that step it up. I mean, the guy that beat Vandy had not thrown more than 4 innings in his career. And he goes 8 innings and only gives up 1 hit. So special performances this time of year are really cool. And, it's a story that dude's going to tell his kids for the rest of his life.
No doubt. All right, let's do our questions of the week, brought to you by Meldon Law. Meldon Law, with 50 years of experience, the only injury law firm partner of the Florida Gators. Meldon Law won't back down. Mike in Gainesville, not a bad year considering the slow start and injuries. I know there are no moral victories, and Omaha was an inch away. Well, maybe a little longer than that, but you got to be proud of this team. It's not a question. I guess it's a statement, and yes, I think we've said that. Joey in Gainesville, regarding the ECU game, the team appeared defeated and lacked the necessary talent to compete, which was visibly evident. Do you agree?
I think in the first game, yes. I don't know about the second game. I think they got punched in the mouth early and, certainly didn't execute. And we go back to the Heyman conversation. Donay didn't get out there quick enough on the bunt, probably should have thrown off the leadoff guy, and then probably should have tagged the guy and, not been out. And that just changes the whole complexion of the game. And then you look at this final game, there's a pass ball early from Donay. It added another run when Coppola then struck out the next 3. Run wouldn't have scored. And you have things like that. And then all of a sudden the momentum's in that other dugout. They're feeling good about themselves. And then the Gators, I don't think they were feeling pressure, but ECU got a great start again from a random guy that had only thrown 4 innings max all year, and that's just what happened. So I do think Florida got punched in the mouth early in that game, never recovered, but part of that's on Peterson too. He could have, even after giving up the 2 runs in the first, come out and shut him down in the second, and it's a different game. You get to that bullpen, you probably win the game. So not having Liam Peterson, your ace, like we've seen with so many aces across the country go out and dominant, I think that was the problem for Florida, and to just put them right behind the 8 ball right from the start.
Yeah, and again, Coppola, you can understand a little bit because he's just fighting to try to help the team. But when you don't get good starting pitching and you're behind against a team that is sort of, in there momentum-wise, it's tough sometimes to come back from that. And Jeff, I think that point is – some people don't get that, but the starting pitching, aside from Aiden King, just was kind of subpar the last 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, not good at all. Got to be better.
Yep. Elizabeth in Gainesville, Donay and the 3-0 swing changed the game's momentum. Did he miss the count?
I don't know. I don't think the coaching staff knows. I think everybody was perplexed by what happened there. I think that's the only excuse you can really give, because it was a 1-0 count, then they brought in a new arm, so then he inherited that and maybe forgot that it was 1-0, so he's had 2 balls, and then but the issue is, if it's 3-0, the coaching staff has to tell you to swing, and he obviously heard something different or didn't understand or didn't pay attention or what, but it killed that entire momentum. It's first and third, nobody out, all of a sudden it's 8-4 on the, and he doesn't get an RBI, but it's 2 outs, and the bases are empty. So it made a huge difference in that game.
No doubt. That might have been – it was the turning point of the game, I think. Devin in Jacksonville, we knew we'd get somebody to do this. Cags got called up to the Royals. Congrats. How do the 9-50 Rockies now feel about missing on drafting him?
I still don't understand how Cags didn't win the Golden Spikes Award. I know there were some other guys out there, but – you have 35 home runs. You pitched as well. Nobody did that. And just what he was able to do at the collegiate level, I never thought I'd say this, but he's the best guy I've ever seen play at Florida. And he's that good. And you knew he would get called up pretty soon. It's kind of fun that he gets to do it against St. Louis today, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and you couldn't find a nicer kid.
Yeah,
too. Just humble, and the good thing about this for him, I think, is there pressure? Sure, but look at the Royals outfield. They don't hit any homers.
Yeah.
So if he has an average year, he's going to be great, because the Royals outfielders aren't very good offensively.
Yeah, they're hitting below 250, not a lot of home runs. It's been bad. And they're actually still hovering right around 500, so he can come in and maybe make an impact and see if he can do some damage.
Yeah. Jerry J., Wright State knocked off number 1 Vandy from a regional. Another example, parities happening in college baseball. Can a mid-major or a small school win it all this year?
I still don't know if that's the case. I think in regionals things are quirky, but now when it's a series and you've got 3 power arms compared to maybe 1 good arm and then a sketchy bullpen. I think that's where if Florida would have been able to get to this weekend, they would have had a better chance to win this weekend than they did last weekend. So I think regionals were really weird. Sometimes you lose a game and then you're forced to throw other guys and different things, and the other 2-0 team can go back to another guy. And Steve, I think that's where you come into it too. I mean, look at the guy that started for ECU, Norby, the guy that started against the Gators in the first game. He threw 3 times in the conference tournament because they knew they had to win the conference tournament. But I don't think that you're going to see anybody in the SEC. I know they brought in Liam Doyle at the very end.
Yesterday.
But, there's not many guys like that. Gators would have gone back to Peterson, but if Peterson gave you a good start, he's not throwing again. Where I think these smaller schools without the prospects, they can have a guy throw 100 pitches on Friday and then come back Sunday, maybe throw 50 pitches, or on Monday throw another 100 pitches. That's the way that those teams do it, and that's why they're able to win some of these things.
Jess in Gainesville, the last 5 baseball champs, SEC teams. Which SEC team wins it all this year?
It was always Arkansas to me. That's the team that I picked at the beginning of the year. Now I hope they blast Tennessee because we don't like Tennessee and wanted them out of here. LSU I still think has got an opportunity, although it was tight with them in their regional, but they've got 2 really good arms on Friday and Saturday, so you would think that they could get through their super, and then if it sets up great in Omaha, you win the first 2, you get 4 days off, you can go back to what that is. So I think if it's any SEC team, it'll be LSU or Arkansas.
Yeah, and I'm stunned Miami's there.
Yeah.
I'm not happy with that. I mean, give them credit. Miami and FSU were there. I didn't think they'd win that regional, did you?
Well, I mean, again, they won the first game, and then they got blasted by Southern Miss, but then they got to beat them twice. So, and Southern Miss just didn't have enough because they had to fight their way out of the bracket, and Miami only had to play then the 4 games, and they had 5, and pitching just ran out. So give them credit.
Alex and Alachua, this might take the rest of the show. Can you update us on who you think will be back next year, who might be drafted or transfer?
Yeah, I just, the question mark is, Shelton, Heyman, those guys that were hurt, where are they going to go? I think Donay's probably gone. I think he leaves no matter what and gets drafted. Somebody will give him some money just from the tools alone. Curlin's another question mark, whether or not he's going to come back. And then the Gators are going to hit the portal. Listen, I think it wasn't expected for NATO to play every day, Stripling every day, Wilson every day, guys like that. So they're not going to be starters next year. So even if guys are gone, they're going to bring in other guys to try to beat that out. And so I think it'll be a much different team. I wouldn't be surprised if there's 8 or 9 or 10 transfer portal guys because the freshman class is a little bit limited. And then, again, there's not a lot of freshmen that come in and make an impact right away. Certainly we saw that with Lawson this year and Aiden King, but nobody else was effective at all and didn't play much. I'd rather go get a guy that's going to give me 60 innings on the mound and be effective, or have some quality at bats and hit 320, something like that. So I think that's what the Gators do.
It's amazing to me, Jeff, that the balance you need between. I mean, look what Bozer did in the portal. I mean, Sear up and down, but I think if you go out and to your point, you get some people like that. Does it set you back a little bit in terms of freshmen and their development, a little bit, but you got to win. And everybody else is doing the same thing. So you have to do that. And then back to the draftable guys, I think it's changed a little bit because of NIL. In other words, like if you're Heyman and you got hurt, do you want to come back and risk getting hurt again at the college level? Well, you're getting, I don't know what he's getting, but you're getting paid. So at least you're getting paid something. So going to the draft to make money isn't quite the same as it used to be. But I agree, all those guys, could they come back? Sure, but they're question marks.
Yeah, and let's just take Heyman, for example, and wherever he gets drafted. Let's just say, 5th or 6th round, they give him $500,000.
Right.
But NIL-wise, Sully then might come back and say, well, we need a catcher. Here's $300,000.
Exactly.
And I would rather probably come back to school, take the $300,000, fly on these nice planes again and have the nice hotels and the meals and all that other stuff, as opposed to getting $500,000 and then riding on buses, playing in the middle of nowhere in front of nobody, things like that. So, yeah, I think it's certainly changed. It used to be you had the leverage as a player But now it's not necessarily that you need it anymore. Just come back to college. Now you have the leverage of saying, hey, I'll come back if you give me some more money.
That's right. Even saying that is just crazy.
crazy.
Julianne in Gainesville, SEC representatives Texas, Tennessee, and Oklahoma. 3 of the teams in the Final Four softball World Series, in addition to Texas Tech. Who do you predict will win it all? Well, it's going to be a Texas team. We know that. And you know what? Oklahoma made another great run with a young team. And again, we don't know how that is going to work, who's going to leave, who's not. But Texas Tech's an interesting team. You know, a guy that got into coaching late, from Louisiana. They're a pretty good team, and I think they're going to win it. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the question is, do they? I guess they've already proven it, so they've gotten to this point. But sometimes that stage is too big. You don't know how people are going to handle it. So that's a big question. Texas has kind of been there, done that, and been successful. So I would just say Texas from the experience standpoint, but wouldn't be surprised if Tech won it.
All right, we're going to get to this now and take care of this, and it's a question Phil has. Coastal Carolina baseball coach Kevin Schnall ripped Kevin O'Sullivan over a reported altercation with staff at the Conway Regional. Can you tell us what really happened? You want to start?
Yeah, Sully was, I think, a little upset with the way that things were. And listen, I don't want to bash anybody either, because then you're getting on Twitter and doing all these other things. But, even from the standpoint for what Steve and I do, you try to do your job, which we try to do, and you try to get some notes. And when somebody's telling you, well, we don't want to print notes, just look at it online. And then you're like, well, this is how I do my notes. This is how, it's not that hard. And then, okay, well, we're not going to print 65 pages. I said, okay, well, double-sided. I don't care. Well, that's just still too much paper. Things like that. It wasn't run like Florida runs it. And I think when you have that expectation, and you certainly are around that and are amongst that, we've gone to other places and they've done a really good job of doing all that. Yep. So I wasn't in any of the admin meetings or any of the things that going on, but Steve, we woke up that morning expecting to play at noon. And I checked my phone, and it still said breakfast 8 o'clock, yep. Game at noon. Yep. And then about 25 minutes later, all of a sudden it changes. So the problem with that is you have a routine, and Florida always has a routine. They eat on the early games like that 4 hours before the game. Then you've got to get the bus driver involved to make sure the bus leaves on time, and then get the batting practice and do all these things. So, Sully was heated because – one, it changed things, and then it almost looks like on the back end where if you're Coastal and you're pushing that game back, which I don't think it needed to be, then now that team that wins, in this case it was ECU, has less time to rest before playing now Coastal, so that makes it easier for Coastal. So there's some things you look at it from that standpoint, but then you can also say, well, it's only an hour, it's not that big of a deal, all that kind of stuff. Now, Sully, should he have MF'd everybody and yelled and screamed and done all that? Probably not, and I think he even regrets that, and I think now that he's figured that out, but I don't think that he was wrong in the messaging, but I think it was wrong certainly the way that it was thrown out there.
Yeah, you just stole my thunder with it, because that's those last two sentences I think sum it up. We were frustrated for what Jeff just said, because we couldn't get the materials that we needed to do our jobs, that everybody else always gives you. You take it for granted that you have that. Now, with all that said, was Sully wrong in doing what he did? In my opinion, yes. You don't do that. You have to do that in a different way. And hopefully, everybody involved in this learns from it. And I also understand Coastal Carolina's coach saying what he said, because he's got to come out and defend his people. And it was just an unfortunate, regrettable thing that took away from a regional that Coastal Carolina played very well and won.
Yeah, I think the only thing with that coach, Coastal's coach, saying something was he wasn't asked. He made it a point to bring it at the end. So to me, you don't call out another coach like that, especially a coach that you weren't involved with. It wasn't like the ECU guy was saying it because he and Sully actually got into it or something happened. This is a guy that, I don't even know if he was there. He was probably just told about it. So in my opinion, especially he's a first-year coach, don't do that, because to me it looks like you're then trying to hype yourself up, and it's trying to be like, well, kids, don't go to Florida then because this guy's a jerk off. So it's almost like trying to make himself look good and like, hey, we're the better program, we're the hosts, they're coming to us, those kind of things. So I didn't agree with him saying that in the press conference like that. I would have been pretty upset. I think he can certainly do stuff behind the scenes, but to come out and make it a point to say something like that and get 2 minutes of a conversation out there on social media was, I don't think, in my opinion, the right way to handle it either.
I'll meet you halfway, okay? I understand why he did it, because he's defending his staff. He's defending the people that put the thing on. He's defending, as he put it, a Hall of Fame coach who was the NCAA site rep there. So I have no problem with him coming out and defending his people for doing the job that he thought that they did. Do you call out another coach? That's where I guess I would say, okay, maybe you went a little too far. If you want to come out and defend your people and say something like, hey, there were some comments made, concerning our preparation here. I think we did a great job, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I'm okay with that. So it was unfortunate. I think the apology was good, and I think everybody moves on from here. We'll come back to more questions from you. We look forward to those. In the meantime, we will do our Coach of the Week. Let's do our best and worst of the week first. Brought to you by Ruzogwa State Farm Insurance. State Farm agent Ruzogwa is your go-to agent in Gainesville and North Central Florida for the service you deserve at the price you want.
I think for me, it's already something that we've hinted upon a little bit. The best is these random teams that nobody's heard about winning some regionals and playing hard, or at least getting to regional finals. I mean, LSU's fighting for their lives. Obviously, Vandy goes down. Tennessee's fighting for their lives. There was a lot of schools that I think expected to be better and certainly weren't. So I guess the props to mid-major and ECU and Coastal and teams like that this time of year, there's also something to be said for camaraderie and, playing with guys for a while and having some fun out there. And I think some of these SEC teams maybe feel a little pressured, or they have to go through some things, and other teams play loose this time of year. So that would be my best. Play loose, enjoy it, have fun. It's a grind. Those teams are excited to be there, and they carry that momentum into it. Whereas now it seems like these other teams, there's a lot of pressure to be successful, and it's hard. So the worst would be, only 4 SEC teams making it when there was 13 of them in there. And you've got some big-time teams like Georgia, national seed, and Vandy, certainly.
Texas.
Yeah, it's Texas goes and wins the SEC, like, hands down, and then little brother beats them in UTSA. So really cool to see some of those teams. Unfortunate, obviously, Florida didn't extend their season, but you'll be rooting for some upsets and see some randoms in Omaha. It'll be fun.
Yeah, worst of the week is the whole thing that happened at Coastal. But the best, and boy, the series of them all, Jeff, that I'm looking forward to is Arkansas and Tennessee. Here's why. I think Tennessee played all year long, with the expectation they won the championship last year. And I don't think they played as freely and as loose as they were last year, because, it's when you get to the top, it's kind of fun. When you get to the top and everybody's after you, sometimes it isn't as fun. Well, you could see yesterday, they kind of got that back. You could, they were loose and they were kind of doing their thing. Now they got to go on the road, but now the pressure's on Arkansas because they've not been champions, and they got a great coach and a great program. So how does Arkansas handle that? And if they handle it, they knock off the defending national champions. That's the series I'm looking to see.
Yeah, it'll be a fun series.
It will. We'll take a break. We'll come back. More to come here on the On Deck Show. Stay with us.
The most important thing I learned from my father was work ethic and integrity. Never veer away from integrity, even if it costs you money.
International Diamond Center owner Keith LeClaire.
The core value for IDC is to protect the customer.
That means offering the largest selection, uncompromising quality, the strongest warranties, and honest guidance from experts who are not paid on commission. International Diamond Center at Celebration Point. Online, shopidc.com.
Is your bank dropping the ball, not playing with heart or skill? Then you need to check out the scouting report on Campus USA Credit Union. That's a 5-star recruit if I've ever seen one. Campus has it all, like great rates and products, friendly service, and smart game plans for you and your money. So why not put some star power in your financial life? Visit campuscu.com or any campus service center today.
Honey, can I recruit you to take the garbage out?
For over 2 decades, Miapa has been a staple in Alachua County. Start your day right at Miapa, where fast and affordable authentic cuisine awaits.
We're known for serving the best Cuban coffee.
Our secret is in every sip and every bite, bringing the flavor of our culture straight to your palate. Everyone is welcome at Miapa Latin Cafe. Visit us at one of our locations and let us take you on a journey full of flavor. Miapa Latin Cafe, where every bite is a taste of tradition.
At Comfort Temp Heating and Air, we're proud to celebrate 40 years as your #1 local HVAC company. We offer energy-efficient solutions featuring quality products from Lennox. Whether it's new installation, system repairs, or routine maintenance, we promise to never sell you anything you don't need. Our professional and experienced technicians provide reliable service you can trust and will keep you informed throughout the entire process. At Comfort Temp, comfort is our business. Peace of mind is our promise.
The State Farm Personal Price Plan helps you create an affordable price just for you.
Contact local agent Roos Ogra for your personal price plan today.
Hi there, this is Coach Steve Spurrier, and I want to let you know that by popular demand, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill's delicious brunch is now served in a premium buffet. You have spoken, we have listened, and we're now serving Gainesville's only elevated buffet, complete with an omelet station, ginger sage chicken sausage, shredded short rib, and of course our chicken and waffles. Plus, you can enjoy bottomless mimosas and Bloody Marys. So join us every Saturday and Sunday from 11 to 3 for the best brunch in town.
Silverback Concrete is a family-led team of heavy concrete specialists that builds commercial structures for contractors who expect unrivaled quality, including the head ball coach's restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. You only have one chance to make a building that holds up to the highest standards through all kinds of weather. Visit silverbackconcrete.co to see why they're the #1 choice in the Southeast. You stand on it, we stand by it. Silverback Concrete's got your back.
Don't settle for a knockoff diamond when you can get the best diamonds at the best price. International Diamond Center, located in Celebration Point. For quality, selection, and value, International Diamond Center, the official jeweler of the Florida Gators. Welcome back to the On Deck Show. Coach of the Week brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union, putting some star power to work in your financial life for 90 years. Campus USA Credit Union. Coach of the Week, Jeff.
Pat Hallmark from UTSA. We just talked about them going into Texas and winning. So you win the first game, handled Kansas State pretty easily, and then you beat Texas, and then I'm sure Texas thinking, all right, we're going to come back. This will be fine. We'll go beat these guys twice. And it didn't even get to a Monday game. They took care of business and beat Texas again, so beat them 2 out of 2 in their own place. And it's just it's a cool story to see, and especially because it is Texas. And, you know, Texas this year, I wouldn't say I snuck in their locker room, but when we were there, I went walking around, and inside their cleats, it says University of Texas at Omaha. And, I mean, they just thought that they were going to be there, and that's what this program does. And, you know, their stuff doesn't stink and all that. But you know, the last time that they won was back when they beat Florida in 2005. So it's still been a long time for that program to win something. But they sure do think they're good. And UTSA said, not so fast, my friends.
Team of the Week brought to you by Comfort Temp Heating and Air. They're your #1 local HVAC company, Comfort Temp Heating and Air. Comfort our business, peace of mind, our promise.
I mean, this could go to several, but for West Virginia to have won their regional and now they get to go to Baton Rouge, I think that's going to be interesting. It's a West Virginia team that at one point, probably when we started doing the show, was probably going to host, and then they really struggled down the stretch, and normally see teams that are struggling down the stretch not do very good, but they figured it out. They started playing well, and they ended up winning. So I am now a West Virginia Mountaineer fan because I want them to go there and blow LSU away. We'll see if that happens. But so selfishly, because of West Virginia, what they did, we'll see if they can go stay hot.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to give credit where it's due, but I never dreamed Miami would be here. So, and again, we're talking about a coach that may be job on the line if they don't make the postseason or even look good in getting in a regional. So, sometimes you have to give it up. We'll take a break. We'll come back. More to come here on the On Deck Show. Stay with us.
Meldon Law has been serving personal injury victims since 1971. In those days, Jeffrey Meldon's presence as an attorney in the music scene dubbed him with the nickname the Hippie Attorney. And although times have changed, two things haven't. Our commitment to bettering our community by helping the injured.
Albert, are you ready to go to the game?
And our love for the Florida Gators.
If you bleed orange and blue, Meldon Law is the firm for you.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
I'm tired of you living in pain, and I want you to get real lasting relief from chronic pain in your knees, back, shoulders, and hips. QC Kinetics can get you moving again with cutting-edge regenerative treatments with no drugs, no downtime, and no surgery. Stop putting it off. Call now and schedule your free consultation. Call QC Kinetics now in Gainesville, Ocala, and the Villages. 352-400-4550. 352-400-4550.
Florida Victorious is a powerful chapter in UF's NIL story.
We are
Florida Victorious.
Gator fans, let's get on board now, okay?
Florida Victorious, proud NIL partner of the Florida Gators.
Growing up in Gainesville, definitely different, especially having the University of Florida there. It was basically like a dream of everybody's, growing up to just have an opportunity to play at the University of Florida. So everybody doesn't have that, the opportunity to do so. So I just feel like me being able to give back to the city that helped me, become the player and the person I am today. It's like, why not just go back and give back? You just become a great person, not just a great athlete or not just a great, teacher or anything, just a great person in general, having those attributes and those type of characteristics just help people just become better people. So that's what I'm trying to do, help the youth just become great.
Well, don't settle for a knockoff diamond when you can get the best diamonds at the best price. It's International Diamond Center, located right here in Celebration Point. For quality, selection, and value, International Diamond Center. It's the official jeweler of the Florida Gators.
Well, Daryl has a comment on YouTube. He said, listen to the broadcast over the weekend. Glad y'all didn't starve with a lack of food in the press box.
I went down and stole some snacks from the dugout. So Rice Krispie treat and fruit snacks, Gushers.
And I brought crackers. So we survived, Daryl. We survived. Relief Pitcher of the Week brought to you by QC Kinetics. If you've got joint pain that won't go away, check out QC Kinetics for long-lasting relief. What do you got?
Well, there's a couple guys from North Carolina, and we mentioned them last week that I thought they would be a scary team. If there was an SEC team that was going to win it, I thought North Carolina was. And Ryan Lynch continues to be really good. He had 4 shutout innings against Clemson in the ACC championship game, and now back to what he was able to do this weekend. Career high 5 innings against Oklahoma, gave up just 2 runs. And then they've got another kid, McDuffie, out of the bullpen. It's Walker McDuffie. He gave up 2 runs and a career-high 4 relief innings, 7 strikeouts. So there was a couple of youngsters in that North Carolina bullpen they didn't expect to get anything from, but that's what you need this time of year. And, I think when you look at relief pitching and, everything and the importance of it, technically Clemente is a reliever, and he came in the third inning, and he held the Gators in that game. Just Florida wasn't able to get back in it offensively. So there's a role for those guys, and a big reason why teams are having success, because you come in the middle of a game, go 3-4 innings, and you shut people down. It gives your offense a chance to get back in it.
I'm going to go back to our game, Jeff, with East Carolina, because that's a team that if it doesn't win its conference tournament, they're not in a regional. They had to win their tournament. And depending on who they brought in, some of the relievers couldn't get a guy out and had ERAs of 5 and 6, and then they brought a guy in who shut Florida down and kept East Carolina in the game. So you never quite know who's going to do a job for you and in what situation. So that really helped East Carolina beat Florida the second time. Game of the Week brought to you by Quality Plumbing. Quality Plumbers, Gainesville's trusted for over 30 years. Quality Plumbing, their name says it all. Game of the Week.
Yeah, there's a lot of super regional matchups. You obviously mentioned earlier Tennessee and Arkansas, which I think that'll be the most fun for SEC fans to watch. But, I think the one I mentioned, UTSA again, I want to see if they can keep it up now having to go to California and face UCLA. And UCLA is a team that has not really been relevant. USC ended up making a regional this year. It'd been the first time in a while. So it's fun to see those California teams again. That's like what I grew up on, and when I played, It was the Fullertons of the world and
the Anteaters.
Long Beach State, all those types of teams. So now having UCLA relevant again is sort of fun. Although it would be a neat story if UTSA can go out there and keep playing hard. So we'll see. But if not, the Gators faced UCLA back in the 2010 College World Series, and they had some dude named Garrett Cole and some guy named Trevor Bauer pitching on that UCLA team. So they've had some arms over the years, and they have another couple good ones. You know who's getting no love is Auburn. Yeah. And they're in a super, and they're hosting. First time ever at Plainsman Park. Yeah. So, I want to give them credit because they started out really hot, kind of hit a little lull, but they've recovered, and they're hosting a super. Player of the Week brought to you by Florida Victorious. Game-changing plays, life-changing impact. Florida Victorious, proud partner of the Florida Gators on and off the field. Well, give due is the first baseman for ECU, Irby. He just went off on the Gators, and he homered in the first 3 games of that regional, and then they ended up getting shut out in the final game against Coastal. But he was a terror, and I think if that's a dude that goes in the portal, I'd jump on him in a hurry. I thought he was a really good player and swung the bat really well. He's drilling balls in the gap and right center. He's hitting opposite field home runs into the bullpen. So it's one of the better hitters that I've seen over the probably the last 5 or 6 weeks. To do that to Florida and the impact that he made in that region was pretty significant. Yeah, that's something I think that goes unnoticed sometimes, Jeff, that when you play, look where Bobby Bozer came from, right? Look where NATO came from. Sometimes you play a team like that and you notice somebody for that team that, hey, he's a pretty good player, and then you go after him. And that's just kind of the nature of, where things are. So we'll see what happens with that. We'll take a break. We still got more to come. Still more of your questions we will answer on our final On Deck show of the year.
The most important thing I learned from my father was work ethic and integrity. Never veer away from integrity, even if it costs you money.
International Diamond Center owner Keith LeClaire.
The core value for IDC is to protect the customer.
That means offering the largest selection, uncompromising quality, the strongest warranties, and honest guidance from experts who are not paid on commission. International Diamond Center at Celebration Point. Online, shopidc.com.
Meldon Law has been serving personal injury victims since 1971. In those days, Jeffrey Meldon's presence as an attorney in the music scene dubbed him with the nickname the Hippie Attorney. And although times have changed, 2 things haven't. Our commitment to bettering our community by helping the injured.
Albert, are you ready to go to the game?
And our love for the Florida Gators.
If you bleed orange and blue, Meldon Law is the firm for you.
At Comfort Temp Heating and Air, we're proud to celebrate 40 years as your #1 local HVAC company. We offer energy-efficient solutions featuring quality products from Lennox. Whether it's new installation, system repairs, or routine maintenance, we promise to never sell you anything you don't need. Our professional and experienced technicians provide reliable service you can trust and will keep you informed throughout the entire process. At Comfort Temp, comfort is our business. Peace of mind is our promise.
For over 2 decades, Miapa has been a staple in Alachua County. Start your day right at Miapa, where fast and affordable authentic cuisine awaits.
We're known for serving the best Cuban coffee.
Our secret is in every sip and every bite, bringing the flavor of our culture straight to your palate. Everyone is welcome at Miapa Latin Cafe. Visit us at one of our locations and let us take you on a journey full of flavor. Miapa Latin Cafe, where every bite is a taste of tradition.
Silverback Concrete is a family-led team of heavy concrete specialists that builds commercial structures for contractors who expect unrivaled quality, including the head ball coach's restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. You only have one chance to make a building that holds up to the highest standards through all kinds of weather. Visit silverbackconcrete.co to see why they're the #1 choice in the Southeast. You stand on it, we stand by it. Silverback Concrete's got your back.
Is your bank dropping the ball, not playing with heart or skill? Then you need to check out the scouting report on Campus USA Credit Union. That's a 5-star recruit if I've ever seen one. Campus has it all, like great rates and products, friendly service, and smart game plans for you and your money. So why not put some star power in your financial life? Visit campuscu.com or any campus service center today.
Honey, can I recruit you to take the garbage out?
All right, stand up. It's time for the 7th inning stretch, courtesy of Miapa Latin Cafe. Discover 11 delicious Cuban sandwiches at Miapa Latin Cafe. 5 locations in Gainesville and Alachua. You are never far from the best Cuban food north of Miami.
And I want to make sure and give a shout out to Titan MRI, who sponsors all of our Facebook or YouTube comments. Titan MRI, no insurance, no problem. Titan MRI has same-day scheduling available. Call them up, start feeling better today. TitanMRI.com. Softball review brought to you by Silverback Concrete. Silverback Concrete builds firm foundations for generations. You stand on it, we stand by it. Jeff, let's go back to Florida. I mean, obviously, not a great way to end the season, being the first team to exit Oklahoma City. But if you look big picture, once again, Tim Walton got his team to play for a chance to win a national championship. That's still a darn good year.
Yeah, of course. Anytime you make it there, and again, that's the expectation now for Tim. Been there 13 times. It's really hard to win it. You have to have a lot of things go the right way, and I think just Florida ran into a tough situation there with some teams that were hot, and then you have Oklahoma beat Tennessee at the very end of that game, and you're going against one of the best pitchers in the entire country, and then you're forced to not be able to throw Rothrock in that game. You don't score early when you had an opportunity to do so, and then it just all snowballed from there. So it was a tough way to do it, and but I think you have to appreciate the seniors and just the love that they have for Tim Walton and this program, and what Kendra Falby said, just the impact that he's made on her life, and how this program, how this city, this community has changed her in so many different ways. I mean, that's the cool stuff. And I think when it's all said and done, you want players to look back on your program and have those types of memories. And certainly the success is all a big part of it, and we're rooting. But Tim Walton's trying to turn those ladies into great people in the future, and he always does that. And he makes some really good softball players too.
Yeah, and I think that's the underrated thing, Jeff, that look, coaches are primarily paid to win, regardless of what sport you're in, and coaches get hired and fired 99% of the time because they either don't win enough, right? Mm-hmm. But the teaching aspect of it, helping them learn life lessons through sports, and then have that bond. It's like, teaching for me. The students through the years that you get close with and you hopefully have helped. It's the same in coaching. It is. Coaches do it in different ways and different styles. And, Tim has his own way of doing things. He has a terrific staff there. But, think of the bar that is set with softball and baseball. It's kind of ridiculous, but it's a terrific thing because that's where these programs are. It's a good thing. All right, I don't know if we can do a top 4, but let's change this around and say, who do you like in the Supers? Brought to you by Coke Zero. The new and improved recipe tastes like real Coca-Cola with 0 sugar and 0 calories. How many SEC teams make it out of a Super?
Well, I mean, you've only got a few matchups. It's Auburn and Coastal. I want Auburn to win that one. Just from all the drama.
That's why I gotta ask that.
When things happen, I'd love to have Arkansas beat Tennessee. I'd love to have West Virginia beat LSU. So I guess if that's the case, that means you're only looking at 2 teams to get in there from the SEC. And, I think all Gator fans are rooting for Louisville to beat Miami, and all Gator fans are rooting for Oregon State to beat Florida State. You don't want either of those teams in there. So let's go Louisville, Oregon State, North Carolina, Auburn. And I do think UTSA is going to upset UCLA.
Do you?
So
Okay.
Put them in there. I think the Dukies will end up being Murray State, and then West Virginia and Arkansas is who I got.
Okay. All right. Good stuff. All right. We're going to end with continuing our questions of the week, brought to you by Meldon Law. Lisa in Gainesville. Following the season-ending loss, Coach Walton was asked what went into his decision to switch things up and start Hammock the last game. Did he make the right call? Well, there was a blister on Rothrock that Rothrock had, so he didn't really have much choice.
Yeah.
Rex in Gainesville. Aiden King seems to have catapulted to our best pitcher and performed well on Saturday to help us beat Fairfield. Will he be our top pitcher next year?
I don't think so. I think Liam is still your number one, and you got to figure it out mentally. And Sully's never really changed it to where you have this top guy who's been a Friday night guy, and then all of a sudden push him back. And I just think that it would be Peterson and then King on Saturday and figure somebody out on Sunday. Now, will it eventually get there or something happen? Certainly. But I think going into the year, Liam Peterson's still your number one. He's just got to figure it out. I think, for him to have the stuff that he has and not be able to perform, if I'm a scout, I don't know if I draft him really, really early. Like, you've got to show me a little bit more, and maybe next year, the junior year will be that kind of, all right, I've figured it out kind of tour, and piss him off, and he'll pitch with a purpose and an anger and go out there and dominate like he could, because he has all the ability in the world to do it. He's got to show up and do it. And King doesn't have that problem. He has that mentality already.
Yes, he does. And I'm taking nothing away from Liam Peterson, because many scouts feel he's the most draftable arm back next year. That says an awful lot. But I don't think Kevin O'Sullivan can afford to get off to the kind of start in the league that they got off to, obviously, this year. So I agree with you. I think Peterson to start the season is the Friday guy. But if he doesn't do it, and King does, and I think he makes a switch. But I do agree with you. I think at the start, it's still going to be Liam Peterson, because he has all the potential in the world. Chase in Gainesville, when's the last time the top 2 seeds lost in the regionals or don't make Omaha?
I'm not sure. But it's always a curse to be that number 1 overall seed. And we saw that with Vandy. Don't ever want to be the overall number 1. That's still really shocking. And Tim Corbin just sat there just perplexed. And that's what look at the 2 teams. I mean, Vandy just ran through the SEC tournament, and Ole Miss played really, really well, and both of them get eliminated the next week. So does that then maybe say people aren't trying as much in the SEC tournament, and some teams are and some teams aren't? I don't know, but it's hard to believe that Vandy could play that well one week and just destroy everybody that's considered really good teams, and then can't even win at home against a team that's a 4 seed. Although, albeit that was probably the best 4 seed in the whole pool.
I have a theory on that. See, when you're in the SEC tournament, most every year, there are teams that don't need to win because they're already in a regional, and they're going to host a regional. Well, there's no pressure. Go out and play. Ole Miss needed some wins to try to host. They played very well. Well, now you're the overall number 1 national seed. That's pressure. And Vanderbilt at times has not responded to that pressure. And I think that got to them. I really, and that's why I want to see Arkansas, Jeff, because they've been kind of the same way. They get to Omaha, they just can't crack open that door. So I want to see if they play loose at home, because I think Tennessee will. I think Tennessee's got their swag back, and I hope Arkansas knocks them off. But that's going to be the most interesting, I agree with you, the most interesting series of all the Supers. Garrett and Gainesville, Donay and Bozer battle to the end for the most homers. Nice personal challenges. Bozer, the Gators' best transfer portal player.
Ever? Probably Waldrop, I would say. BT Rypel pretty good too,
Yeah.
but
I think
Bozer had a
position
great
players,
year.
yeah.
Yeah, it's he had a tremendous year. He was awesome. A great kid too. And he came in here and he tried to teach Brendan Lawson and some of these younger guys too and go through all that. So there was a lot asked of him, and when he got moved into that leadoff spot, he was lights out.
He was. Wyatt and High Springs, Gators played their worst defense last weekend, made some dumb mistakes. Did they go back to the beginning of the season blues?
No, but listen, you build a baseball team around the middle part of the field. And you, by the end of the year, had no catcher, no shortstop, no second baseman, no center fielder, at least from what you thought you were going to have at the beginning part of the year. So that's technically the middle part of your field, and you don't have Jones for the whole year, Shelton for the last 5 or 6 weeks, Curlin basically the whole year, and then Heyman in the most important part of the year. And you now have to put Stripling at third, who is very limited. He can only stand in one spot and tries to field from there. And then Donay, Heyman had caught every single inning in the SEC.
And there's a reason for
that just shows you why they felt about him as opposed to Donay. So Donay gets back there, and there's pass balls and inability to throw guys out and do all these other things. And then, it just wasn't the same. And Nato doesn't have the same range that Curlin has either. And the one good part is when with all the injuries, they got to at least DH Ty. So Wilson's a better right fielder. But that's really the only stronger thing that you had on the change. Other than that, it was really hard.
Last two. Nicole, this is easy. Why didn't the Gator baseball game against Fairfield end after 8 because of the run rule? There is no, we talked about this on the air. There's a run rule in softball in the College World Series. There is no run rule in baseball in a regional. That doesn't make any sense.
And they don't flip the brackets either like they do in softball, which I like that, because then you kind of get a taste of a true champion by flipping it like that. If not, you're only playing same 4 teams on one side and then the other side, and then 2 at the end. So I like that. Maybe that's something they should look into.
I think there should be more consistency with that. Finally, Joe and Newberry, which was more impressive, UTSA beating Texas or Wright State beating Vandy?
Equivalent, I think. But maybe Wright State, if I have to give an answer, just because
overall number one.
Yeah, but Texas should have been the overall number one until they blew it towards the end of the year. So I think it's very 2 even type teams. I think the impressive performance was, though, you go in and you have a dude that's thumbing it up there as a lefty, and he throws 8 innings, allows just 1 hit to the number 1 team in the country. So that performance, at least from an individual standpoint for a team, was better.
All right, we'll take our final break, come back, and wrap the show up for today and for this season. Stay with us.
The most important thing I learned from my father was work ethic and integrity. Never veer away from integrity, even if it costs you money.
International Diamond Center owner Keith LeClaire.
The core value for IDC is to protect the customer.
That means offering the largest selection, uncompromising quality, the strongest warranties, and honest guidance from experts who are not paid on commission. International Diamond Center at Celebration Point. Online, shopidc.com.
The State Farm Personal Price Plan helps you create an affordable price just for you.
Contact local agent Roos Ogra for your personal price plan today.
I'm tired of you living in pain, and I want you to get real lasting relief from chronic pain in your knees, back, shoulders, and hips. QC Kinetics can get you moving again with cutting-edge regenerative treatments with no drugs, no downtime, and no surgery. Stop putting it off. Call now and schedule your free consultation. Call QC Kinetics now in Gainesville, Ocala, and the Villages. 352-400-4550. 352-400-4550. 4550.
Success doesn't happen by chance. It takes skill, dedication, and a winning team behind you. For over 40 years, Quality Plumbing has been the trusted name across North Central Florida, delivering reliable service, expert craftsmanship, and results you can count on. From the locker room to the living room, the track to your tap, commitment to quality is how success is achieved. Teamwork, experience, community, that's the winning formula. Quality Plumbing. Our name says it all.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
Florida Victorious is a powerful chapter in UF's NIL story.
We are
Florida Victorious.
Gator fans, let's get on board now, okay?
Florida Victorious, proud NIL partner of the Florida Gators.
International Diamond Center, the official jeweler of the Florida Gators. Visit us online at shopidc.com to see our selection of premier diamonds you can't get anywhere else. International Diamond Center, your family-owned diamond connection located in Celebration Point. Well, we're at the end.
Wiping the tears away, Steve.
And we wish it were longer,
yeah,
certainly. But look, I guess sometimes when you don't make it, it makes making it, that much more special. And certainly, Jeff pointed this out. We were talking to some of the coaches getting ready to come home, and they were already saying, look, we got to schedule exit meetings. We have to, portals open. We're going to have kids coming in. So, their work's kind of just starting.
It is. And it's weird for them. And knowing these coaches, like we get to know them, they're up at 6 a.m. They're going through scouting reports. They're watching video. They're doing all these things. Like, they're working way harder than the players are to make sure that those guys are prepared. So it's just the dedication and the hard work that they put in, even though they probably in the back of their mind knew that wasn't going to be a team that's going to win it all. I think you do have to commend them. And it's, it's unfortunate this thing comes out at the very end because, Sully knows what he's doing. He's a tremendous coach. And, certainly the history of what he's been able to do for this program is awesome. And, again, Chuck Geralman works really, really hard. And, Taylor Black and David Kopp and, Zach Cronin, and you had Rivera and Byrne this year, a part of this thing too. And that's the weird part more than anything. So Mike Rivera was a part of 3 College World Series teams as a player, and then 2 as a volunteer assistant. This is the first time that Mike Rivera has ever been in college and didn't make Omaha. Wow. So it's kind of crazy. So he was 5 for 5, and that's just what the standard is, and that's what's known around here. So when you don't make it, it's certainly hard, but I guess we get a few extra weekends now in June that we don't normally get to just lounge around by the pool.
Yep. Lots of people to thank. Zach Rothrock, who's been our producer all year long. Appreciate his good work. Freddie Wiebe, the guy behind all of this. We appreciate him and what he does for us. And most importantly, you for consuming this and following college baseball, Gator baseball, softball throughout a long, long season. And this guy, too, always appreciate him being here because he does a great job, and we thank you for tuning in. So we'll do this again, about February, Jeff?
I reckon so.
We hope so. Thank you for tuning in. So long, everybody.
On Deck with Jeff Cardozo and Steve Russell, presented by the International Diamond Center. The show and the On Deck Show archive is available for you via podcast.